Welcome back to Elderly Smiles. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and click the bell icon to stay updated. Let's begin the discussion.
So thinking about how to really make the most of this next stage of life. Well, we found some fascinating ideas, and you're going to love this. They're inspired by Zen and Buddhist teachings.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. We're diving into a source that lays out 5, get this, pillars for a fulfilling life after 60.
Okay.
Not just getting by, but truly thriving.
I like that.
Right. So get ready for some, I think, unexpected insights.
Okay.
And we'll keep it practical so you can actually walk away with, some real takeaways.
Well, what I find so refreshing about how these traditions view aging is it's not like a decline.
Yeah.
It's like this stage has its own unique opportunities, for growth, for fulfillment.
I love that. It really is. It's like reaching a mountain peak. After a long climb, you can finally pause, take in the view, and really appreciate how far you've come.
Exactly. But just like a mountain needs a strong foundation to withstand the elements, we kind of need that inner support too. As we navigate this phase of life, that's where these 5 pillars come in.
I love it. Okay, so let's hear about that first pillar. What's the foundation we're building on here?
Well, the first pillar is all about inner peace.
Okay.
Think of it as creating that calm space within yourself. Even when, the world outside feels chaotic.
That sounds lovely in theory, but how do we actually do that?
Yeah.
Life doesn't magically become stress-free just because we hit a certain age. Right.
Right, exactly. It's definitely an ongoing process.
Okay.
The source highlights practices like mindfulness, acceptance. Not like some vague New Age concepts, but with really practical applications for everyday life.
Okay, so mindfulness is more than just like sitting cross-legged trying to empty your mind.
Absolutely. It's about bringing your attention to the present moment without judgment. Just noticing the sensations of your breath, the taste of your food, the sounds around you. These small acts can actually ground us and create a sense of calm.
It's almost like hitting the pause button.
Yeah.
On all those worries and mental to-do lists we tend to carry around.
Precisely. And then there's acceptance, which is a big one.
Yeah.
The source emphasizes that change is inevitable. Nothing lasts forever.
Right.
Now, that can feel daunting sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's also where we find a surprising opportunity.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
How can accepting that things change actually be a good thing?
Well, think about it this way. If we're constantly clinging to the past or worrying about the future, we miss the beauty and richness of what's right in front of us.
Yeah, I'm starting to see how this shift in perspective could bring more peace.
Right.
But the source also mentions letting go of outcomes. Honestly, that's something I struggle with.
Yeah, it's a common challenge, especially if you've been goal-oriented your whole life.
Right.
But think of it this way. We can put effort into tending our garden, right? Planting seeds, nurturing the plants. But ultimately, we can't control how much they'll grow or, what the harvest will be like. Finding peace lies in enjoying that process of gardening itself, not just obsessing over the end result.
That's helpful, yeah. It's about focusing on what we can control.
Yes.
Which is our effort and our attitude.
Exactly. And speaking of attitude, the source has a lot to say about gratitude.
Okay.
It's about intentionally noticing and appreciating the good things in our lives, big and small.
Now, doesn't that seem a bit simplistic, though? Can just feeling grateful really make a difference in how we experience aging?
It might sound simple,
Yeah.
but it's incredibly powerful. When we focus on what we're grateful for, it shifts our whole perspective. It's like putting on, a pair of rose-colored glasses.
Okay.
We start to see the world through a more positive lens.
So it's not about ignoring the challenges,
No.
but about balancing them with an awareness of what's good.
Yes, exactly. And the beauty of these practices, mindfulness, acceptance, letting go, gratitude, is that they all work together. They're like different threads woven together to create this tapestry of inner strength.
Okay.
And resilience.
So pillar 1 is about building that solid internal foundation, that sense of peace that can help us weather any storm.
Exactly. Now let's move on to pillar 2.
Okay.
Which focuses on health and vitality.
All right, this is a big one, especially as we get older.
Yeah.
You hear so much about, aging gracefully, staying active, but it can feel overwhelming.
Right. The source takes a really balanced approach here.
Okay.
It uses this analogy of the body as a temple. deserving respect and care,
Okay.
especially as time goes on.
Makes sense. We only get one body.
Right.
And it's been with us through thick and thin.
It has, and rather than pushing extreme diets or workouts, the source emphasizes the middle way. It's about finding those sustainable habits that nourish us physically and mentally.
So it's more about making conscious choices each day,
Right.
rather than trying to overhaul our entire lifestyle.
Exactly. It's about those small, consistent actions that add up over time.
I like that. Okay, give us some specifics.
Sure.
What are some of those little things that make the big difference?
Well, for starters, movement is key.
Okay.
Think of it like keeping your joints oiled and your muscles limber, walking, gentle yoga, even stretching while you watch TV, it all counts.
I've heard from friends that staying active is important not just physically,
Yeah.
but for their mood and mental clarity too.
Oh, absolutely. Regular movement does wonders for lifting your spirits
Okay.
and keeping your mind sharp.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so speaking of nourishing yourself, let's talk about food.
Okay.
What's the source say about that?
The source emphasizes fresh, colorful ingredients, as fuel for your body.
That makes sense. It's not about depriving yourself. It's about enjoying delicious food that happens to be good for you too.
Exactly. And as we age, getting enough rest becomes even more important.
Yeah.
The source highlights the importance of good sleep
Right.
for allowing the body to repair and recharge.
I've definitely noticed that a good night's sleep makes a world of difference in how I feel the next day. It's like hitting the reset button.
It is.
Yeah.
And finally, something that's often overlooked, but crucial for overall well-being, hydration.
Okay.
The source really emphasizes the importance of drinking enough water throughout the day.
I know we should be drinking more water, but sometimes it feels boring. How does the source make the case for why it's so important?
Well, it goes beyond just, quenching your thirst.
Okay.
Water affects everything, from our skin's elasticity to our energy levels, even how well our organs function. Think of it as a vital nutrient that keeps, everything running smoothly.
So pillars 1 and 2 are all about taking care of ourselves internally and externally.
Yeah.
It's like building a strong foundation for a long and fulfilling life.
Exactly. And, inner peace and well-being, they can be deeply impacted by our sense of financial security.
Right.
Which brings us to Pillar 3, financial independence.
That's a big one, especially as we think about retirement and, potential living on a fixed income. I'm curious to hear how Zen philosophy approaches finances.
Well, it's not about being rich.
Okay.
It's about that feeling of security and being in control of your finances, which is so important as we age.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What are some key takeaways from the source on how to achieve that?
Well, they emphasize living within your means.
Okay.
It's not about deprivation. It's about making conscious choices about where your money goes. Asking yourself, do I really need this or do I just want it?
Right.
Can be a helpful exercise.
That's a great point. It's easy to get caught up in impulse purchases,
Yeah.
especially with all the marketing out there these days.
Absolutely. The source also really stresses the importance of having an emergency fund. Think of it like that sturdy roof on your house.
Okay.
That protects you from the storms, right?
Yeah.
It's a safety net that can provide peace of mind. Knowing you have resources to handle unexpected expenses.
Just knowing that safety net is there can make you feel more secure. It's like having a backup plan.
It is. What else? Well, another insightful point is about prioritizing experiences over possessions. Memories and personal growth, they tend to last longer than that fancy gadget. Investing in experiences that enrich your life can bring more lasting satisfaction.
That's a great reminder. Okay, so we've got inner peace, health, and financial security covered. What about our connections with others? Are those part of the picture too?
Absolutely. That leads us to Pillar 4,
Okay.
which focuses on meaningful relationships.
I imagine relationships become even more important as we age. Our social circles might change. We may have more time to invest in deeper connections.
You're exactly right. The source highlights how the quality of our relationships becomes paramount in this stage of life. They even mention this beautiful concept called Kalana Mitrata, which translates to spiritual friendships.
Spiritual friendships. That sounds intriguing. What makes them different from other types of friendships?
These are the kinds of relationships where you support each other's growth and evolution as individuals. You can truly be yourself, share your vulnerabilities, and celebrate each other's successes.
So it's about fostering connections that nurture our souls and inspire us to become the best versions of ourselves.
Exactly. And the Source offers some practical advice on how to cultivate these kinds of relationships. It starts with being mindful of who uplifts you and brings positive energy into your life.
Sometimes that means letting go of relationships that drain you, even if they've been a part of your life for a long time.
It can be tough.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly freeing to create space for relationships that truly nourish you.
Yeah, it's about quality over quantity.
Exactly. And they emphasize compassion as a key ingredient. It's about listening deeply, empathizing with others' struggles, offering support without judgment.
I imagine those qualities become even more precious as we get older and have more life experience to draw from. But sometimes it's hard to be compassionate, especially if someone is going through something you haven't personally experienced. What does the Source suggest for cultivating that understanding?
They talk about putting yourself in the other person's shoes.
Okay.
Really trying to see the world from their perspective.
Right.
It's not about agreeing with them or condoning their actions, but simply understanding where they're coming from.
That's such a valuable skill, and it can deepen any relationship.
Absolutely. And then finally, the Source talks about trust and loyalty as the bedrock of lasting bonds. These qualities take time to build, but they are essential for creating relationships that can withstand the tests of time.
It sounds like they're talking about the kind of friendships that become even more precious as we get older. The kind of people you can call on no matter what.
Exactly. The Source reminds us that we have a choice in who we surround ourselves with.
Right.
And that nurturing those strong, supportive relationships is crucial for our well-being.
So we've covered inner peace, taking care of our health, financial independence, and the importance of meaningful relationships. What's that final pillar all about?
The fifth pillar focuses on lifelong learning and purpose, which completely challenges the notion that aging means slowing down intellectually.
I love that. It's never too late to learn something new, explore a new interest, discover hidden talent.
The Source emphasizes that our minds can stay sharp and vibrant throughout our lives. The key is to stay curious.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Curiosity keeps us engaged, open to new ideas, and connected to the world around us. But sometimes as we get older, it can feel like we've already learned everything we need to know.
Yeah, well, that's where a shift in perspective can be helpful. The Source suggests thinking of learning as an ongoing adventure. A way to keep growing and expanding our horizons, no matter our age.
It's about embracing that childlike sense of wonder.
Yes.
And excitement about the world.
Exactly. They suggest exploring all sorts of avenues for learning. Taking classes, reading books, attending lectures, even just having stimulating conversations with people from diverse backgrounds.
So it's not just about formal education. It's about staying engaged with life and seeking out new experiences.
Absolutely. And the Source goes beyond just acquiring knowledge. They talk about giving back to others, sharing our skills and experiences, and making a meaningful contribution to the world around us.
That could involve anything from volunteering your time to mentoring younger generations to sharing your passions with others.
Exactly. And they emphasize that it's never too late to pursue your passions. Those things that light you up and bring you joy.
So it's about finding what sparks your interest and giving yourself permission to explore it.
Yes.
Regardless of age or experience.
Yes. And this ties into the theme of purpose, which the Source also discusses in depth. They highlight how having a sense of purpose can be incredibly grounding and motivating, especially as we get older.
It's like having a guiding star that gives you direction. And a reason to get out of bed each morning.
They talk about purpose as the light that guides you, providing meaning and direction in life.
And it doesn't have to be something like grand or world-changing. It could be as simple as nurturing your relationships, contributing to your community, or pursuing creative endeavors that bring you joy.
Exactly. The Source encourages us to embrace the journey of lifelong learning and purpose, to stay open to new experiences, and to find meaning and fulfillment in each day, no matter what challenges we may face.
It's an inspiring reminder that aging doesn't have to be about decline. It can be a time of continued growth,
Yes.
discovery, and making a meaningful contribution to the world around us.
Absolutely. And what's beautiful is that these 5 pillars,
Yeah.
they aren't meant to be tackled in isolation.
Right.
They're interconnected and supportive of each other.
I'm curious to hear how these pillars work together in practice. Can you give us an example of how they might intersect in someone's life?
Sure. Let's say you decide to volunteer at a local community garden. You're outdoors, getting exercise, connecting with nature, which supports your physical health and well-being.
It also taps into that sense of purpose
Yes.
and giving back to the community.
Exactly. And while you're there, you might meet new people, forming those meaningful connections that nourish your soul.
Right.
You might learn new gardening techniques.
Okay.
Expanding your knowledge.
Yeah.
And keeping your mind engaged.
And seeing the fruits of your labor literally could foster a sense of gratitude
Yes.
and accomplishment.
Precisely. It's a beautiful example of how these pillars can weave together to create a richer, more fulfilling life experience.
It sounds like they create a positive feedback loop where one pillar reinforces the others, leading to greater overall well-being.
You got it. And it's not about being perfect or mastering all 5 pillars overnight.
Right.
It's about taking small, consistent steps in the direction that feels right for you.
That's a reassuring thought. It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And the beauty is that those small steps can lead to big changes over time.
Yeah.
Creating a ripple effect that extends beyond ourselves.
So it's not just about our own individual well-being.
No.
It's about contributing to a more compassionate, connected, and vibrant world.
Beautifully put. It's about recognizing that aging isn't just about taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
It's about sharing our wisdom, experiences, and unique gifts with the world.
It's about realizing that we have so much to offer.
Yes.
No matter our age.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a powerful and inspiring message for all of us. It really is. You know, sometimes we get so caught up in, like, the challenges of aging that we forget about the incredible potential this stage of life holds.
It's like we've reached this incredible vantage point, right? Where we can look back on our lives with wisdom and perspective.
Yeah.
And yet we still have so much living to do.
Exactly. And the source we're exploring today really emphasizes that. It's not about clinging to the past or fearing the future.
Right.
But about embracing the present moment with all its possibilities.
I love that. It's about recognizing that aging doesn't have to, like, diminish us.
Right.
It can actually be a time of deepening our connection to ourselves, to others, and to what truly matters in life.
That's beautifully said. It's about shifting our perspective from one of loss to one of growth and transformation.
And these 5 pillars provide a roadmap for that transformation. It's not about achieving some idealized version of aging. It's about finding what works for us as individuals.
Absolutely. It's about honoring our unique journeys and embracing the wisdom that comes with age.
You know, I'm finding myself thinking back to that first pillar, inner peace. It feels like such a vital foundation for everything else. If we're not at peace with ourselves and where we are in life, it's hard to fully embrace those other aspects of well-being.
You're so right. And the source offers some really practical techniques for cultivating that inner peace. They talk about mindfulness as a key practice.
We touched on mindfulness earlier, but I'd love to hear more about how it can specifically benefit people in this stage of life. You know, as we age, we might face new challenges.
Yeah.
Health concerns, maybe changes in our social circles or living situations. How can mindfulness help us navigate those transitions with more grace and ease?
That's a great question. You see, as we get older, it's easy to get caught up in worrying about the future or dwelling on the past. Mindfulness helps us break free from those thought patterns and bring our attention back to the present moment.
So instead of getting swept away by those what-if thoughts about the future or regrets about the past, we can anchor ourselves in the here and now.
Exactly. And the source offers some concrete examples of how to practice mindfulness in daily life. They talk about paying attention to the simple act of breathing. Just noticing the rise and fall of your breath can create a sense of calm and focus.
It sounds so simple, but I can see how powerful it could be. Just taking a few moments to connect with your breath can bring you back to center.
Right. It's like hitting the reset button on your nervous system. They also talk about mindful walking.
Mindful walking, what does that involve?
It's about bringing your full attention to the experience of walking, noticing the sensations of your feet on the ground, the movement of your body, the sights and sounds around you.
So instead of just going through the motions, you're really tuning into the experience of walking.
Exactly. It's a way to turn an ordinary activity into a mindful practice. And you can apply that same principle to other everyday activities, like eating, showering, even doing the dishes.
I love that. It's about finding those little moments throughout the day to pause, be present, and appreciate the simple things.
Exactly. And the beauty of mindfulness is that it can be practiced anywhere, anytime. You don't need any special equipment or training.
That's what makes it so accessible. It's a tool we can all use to cultivate inner peace and well-being, regardless of our age or circumstances.
Absolutely. And alongside mindfulness, the Source talks about acceptance as another key pillar of inner peace.
We talked about acceptance earlier in terms of accepting change, but I'd love to hear more about how we can cultivate acceptance in a practical sense. Now, how do we actually accept those things in life that are difficult or painful?
That's a profound question. And the Source offers some really wise insights. They talk about acceptance not as resignation or giving up,
Right.
but as a way to acknowledge reality without resistance.
So it's about seeing things as they are, even if we don't like them.
Exactly. And they use the analogy of a wildflower growing in a crack in the sidewalk. It's not the ideal environment.
Right.
But the flower still finds a way to thrive.
It's a beautiful image. It's about finding that inner strength to adapt and grow, even amidst challenges.
Exactly. They talk about how resistance creates suffering. When we push against reality, when we try to control things that are beyond our control, we create inner turmoil.
So acceptance is about surrendering to what is, letting go of that struggle.
You got it. And it's not always easy.
Right.
It takes practice. But the Source emphasizes that acceptance doesn't mean we have to like or condone what's happening.
Right. It's about acknowledging it, allowing it to be there, without letting it consume us.
Exactly. It's about making space for the full range of human experience. The good, the bad, and everything in between.
And finding peace in the midst of it all.
Exactly. And, this ties back to that concept of letting go of outcomes, which we talked about earlier. When we accept that we can't control everything, we release that grip on how things should be, and open ourselves to new possibilities.
It's about shifting our focus from trying to force things to happen to trusting in the unfolding of life.
That's beautifully put. And that trust can bring a profound sense of peace and freedom.
It's like we're surrendering to a larger wisdom that's guiding us.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of that other practice the Source emphasizes. Gratitude. When we cultivate gratitude, we shift our focus from what's lacking to what we already have.
It's about appreciating the good in our lives, even amidst challenges.
Exactly. And they suggest making it a daily practice. Take a few moments each day to reflect on the things you're grateful for. It could be something as simple as a warm cup of tea on a cold morning, or as profound as the love of family and friends.
I love that. It's about training our minds to focus on the positive, which can have such a powerful impact on our mood and outlook.
Absolutely. And, gratitude isn't just about feeling good. It can actually have tangible benefits for our health and well-being.
Really? I'd love to hear more about that.
There's been quite a bit of research in recent years on the benefits of gratitude. Studies have shown that people who regularly practice gratitude experience lower levels of stress and anxiety, improved sleep quality, and even stronger immune systems.
That's amazing. It's like a simple yet powerful antidote to so many of the challenges we face as we age.
And the Source emphasizes that gratitude isn't about denying the difficult things in life.
Right.
It's about choosing to focus on the good, even in the midst of challenges.
It's about finding those glimmers of light, even on the darkest days.
Exactly. And it's a practice that can become more and more profound as we age and gain perspective on our lives. When we look back on our journeys, we can see all the things we have to be grateful for, even the challenges that helped us grow and learn.
It's like finding beauty in the imperfections, the wrinkles, the scars, the stories that make us who we are.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it reminds me of how these practices of inner peace can have a ripple effect, extending outward into our relationships with others.
That makes sense. When we're at peace with ourselves, we're more likely to be patient, compassionate, and understanding in our interactions with others.
Exactly. And that brings us back to that fourth pillar, meaningful relationships.
We talked earlier about how the quality of our relationships becomes even more important as we age. But sometimes those relationships can become strained or challenging as we navigate different life stages. Our children grow up, our parents age, maybe our social circles shift. How does this source address those evolving dynamics?
They acknowledge that relationships are constantly evolving and that aging can bring new challenges. They talk about the importance of communication, of staying connected with loved ones, even as circumstances change.
So it's about making an effort to stay in touch, to keep those lines of communication open, even if it's not always easy.
Exactly. And they emphasize the importance of letting go of expectations. Our relationships with our children, our partners, our friends, they're all going to change over time.
It's about accepting people for who they are, where they are in their own journeys, rather than trying to force them to fit into some preconceived mold.
That's a really important point. It's about allowing people the space to grow and change, even if it means those changes create some distance or friction in the relationship.
And sometimes that means having difficult conversations, addressing those unspoken tensions or resentments that can build up over time.
It's not always easy, but the source emphasizes that honest and compassionate communication is essential for maintaining healthy relationships.
It's about finding that balance between honoring your own needs and being respectful of the other person's perspective.
Exactly. And, this ties back to that concept of Kalana Mitrata, those spiritual friendships we talked about earlier.
Right, those friendships that support our growth and evolution as individuals.
These are the kinds of relationships where we can be vulnerable, share our struggles, and offer each other support without judgment. And as we age, these friendships can become even more vital, providing a sense of belonging, purpose, and emotional support.
It's like having a tribe of people who understand you, accept you, and cheer you on, no matter what.
Exactly. And the source suggests being proactive in cultivating these kinds of friendships.
So it's not just about waiting for them to appear.
No.
It's about putting ourselves out there, joining groups, pursuing interests that connect us with like-minded people.
Exactly. It's about creating opportunities for those connections to form. And they emphasize that these friendships can blossom in unexpected places. It could be a neighbor, a fellow volunteer, someone you meet at a class or workshop.
It's about being open to new connections.
Yes.
Regardless of age or background.
Right. And the source reminds us that these friendships don't have to replace our existing relationships. They can enrich our lives in new and meaningful ways, adding layers of depth and connection.
It's like expanding our social circles and creating a more vibrant tapestry of relationships.
And these relationships can play a powerful role in supporting our overall well-being, both physically and emotionally. Studies have shown that people with strong social connections tend to live longer, healthier lives. They're more resilient in the face of stress, and they have a greater sense of purpose and belonging.
That makes a lot of sense. Feeling connected to others, knowing you have people you can rely on, can make a world of difference, especially as we age and may face new challenges.
Absolutely. And it reminds us that we're not meant to go through life alone. We're wired for connection, for community, for belonging.
And those connections can be a source of immense joy, laughter, and support.
It's interesting how this pillar of meaningful relationships intersects with that fifth pillar, lifelong learning and purpose.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Well, as we were discussing earlier, the source talks about how lifelong learning isn't just about acquiring knowledge. It's about staying curious, engaged with the world, and open to new experiences. And those experiences often involve other people.
Right. When we connect with others, share ideas, and learn from each other, it can spark new interests and ignite a passion for learning.
Exactly. Think about a book club, for example. It's a chance to connect with others who share your love of reading, to discuss ideas and perspectives, and to expand your literary horizons.
Or a cooking class where you can learn new culinary skills while bonding with fellow food enthusiasts.
Exactly. It's about finding those opportunities for learning and connection that bring joy and enrichment to our lives. And, this ties back to that concept of purpose, which the source emphasizes as a vital aspect of well-being.
We talked about purpose earlier as a guiding light, a source of motivation and meaning. But sometimes as we age, we might feel like our purpose has shifted. Or maybe we're searching for a renewed sense of purpose. How does the source address that?
They acknowledge that our sense of purpose can evolve over time. What felt meaningful in our younger years might not hold the same resonance as we age.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
It's about being open to exploring new avenues.
Yes.
For purpose, discovering what lights us up in this stage of life.
Exactly. They talk about purpose not as a fixed destination,
Right.
but as an ongoing journey of discovery. And they suggest looking for purpose in the everyday moments,
Right.
in our interactions with others, in the ways we contribute to our communities, and in the activities that bring us joy.
It's about finding those things that make us feel alive, engaged, and connected to something larger than ourselves.
And they emphasize that it's never too late to find or rediscover your purpose. No matter our age, we all have something unique and valuable to offer the world.
You know, that's an incredibly empowering message. It's a reminder that aging doesn't have to be about decline or diminishment. It can be a time of continued growth, exploration, and making a meaningful contribution to the world around us.
And, I think that's a beautiful note to end on. These 5 pillars offer a framework for approaching aging with intention and grace.
Yeah.
They're a reminder that we have choices, that we can create a life filled with purpose, connection, and joy, no matter our age.
It really is empowering, isn't it? To think about how we can actually shape this next chapter and make it a truly fulfilling one.
One of the things that really struck me about the source was how it acknowledges the reality of aging. Things do change, and it's not always easy.
Absolutely. We might experience shifts in our health, our energy levels, our roles and responsibilities.
Yeah.
And it's totally natural, right, to feel a sense of loss or uncertainty during those transitions.
But the source frames it beautifully, I think. It's not about, clinging to how things used to be.
Yeah.
It's about finding freedom and opportunity within those changes.
It's almost like we're shedding old skins, making space for new growth and transformation.
That's a great way to put it. And the source even suggests that this process of letting go can actually be quite liberating.
I can see that. If we're holding on too tightly to the past, it can prevent us from fully embracing the present moment, right?
Right.
And all its possibility.
Exactly. It's about shifting our focus from what we're losing to what we're gaining.
I love that. And that's where these 5 pillars come in.
Yeah.
They provide that framework for building a fulfilling life, even as things around us change.
Right. They're like tools
Yeah.
we can use to navigate this new terrain, to create a life that feels meaningful and aligned with our values.
It strikes me that this stage of life can be a time of incredible authenticity. We've spent decades building careers, raising families, meeting societal expectations.
Right.
Now we have the freedom to focus on what truly matters to us.
I completely agree. The source talks about how this can be a time to shed those old shoulds and have-tos and really step into who we are, at our core.
It's like we've earned the right to be ourselves.
Yes.
Fully and unapologetically.
And that authenticity can be incredibly inspiring, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us.
I love that. We become role models for younger generations, showing them that aging doesn't have to be something to fear. It can be a time of continued growth, joy, and purpose.
Beautifully said. And it all comes back to that inner strength we were talking about earlier. These 5 pillars aren't about relying on external circumstances for happiness.
Right.
They're about cultivating that inner resilience
Yeah.
that allows us to thrive, no matter what life throws our way.
So it's not about denying the challenges of aging.
Right.
It's about meeting them with grace, wisdom, and a sense of purpose.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that aging is a natural part of life, and it can be a beautiful and fulfilling chapter.
This has been such an insightful deep dive into the 5 pillars for thriving after 60. I feel like we've only scratched the surface of these profound ideas, but I hope you feel inspired to explore them further.
Me too.
Yeah.
And remember, it's not about trying to master all 5 pillars overnight. It's about taking those small, intentional steps each day to cultivate more peace, vitality, and joy in your life.
Maybe it's starting a gratitude journal, going for a walk in nature, reaching out to an old friend,
Yeah.
or exploring a new hobby.
Exactly. Even the smallest actions can make a difference, creating a ripple effect that extends outward, touching the lives of those around you.
It's a reminder that we have the power to create a positive and meaningful impact on the world, no matter our age.
Beautifully put. So as we wrap up, I'd love to leave you with a question to ponder. What legacy do you want to leave behind? How do you want to be remembered by those whose lives you touch?
That's a powerful question to reflect on. And remember, it's never too late to start building that legacy, one kind act, one joyful pursuit, one moment of connection at a time. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.